Hey guys, today we're going to be ranking all of the Arcane Lineage superclasses based on how well I think they do in a PVE scenario. We're going to be ranking them just on their class, not any races you can add on top of it. And we're also going to be ranking them just by themselves, like they're solo progressing basically. Now we're going to start out with Assassin here, because I think it's a decent one to start out with. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but when it comes to by itself for PvE, I don't think it's that good. Like, yeah, sure, it can farm pretty easily in the beginner forest by itself pretty nicely. But once it hits like the desert or the deep forest, I think it becomes like way too difficult for it to just solo anything, because the encounter, especially at level 40, because the encounters are just really dumb, and I don't think it really has that damage to actually kill anything quick enough. Next, I believe this is Paladin. Paladin is a solid B. The resistances alone would allow it to like basically survive a lot longer. It doesn't have, again, it has an AoE attack, but it's not that good unless you're fighting the corrupted mobs in Deep Forest. So, I mean, but at the same time, the resistances do help it like stay alive a lot longer. It also does have a heal as well, which is also pretty good, but again, I don't see it being as good compared to a lot of other things. Saint class now, I'm gonna put that in, no C again, but I'm gonna put that higher than Assassin, just because I know they have an AoE attack which does a lot of damage, but that's their their only main attack. They have buffs, they can buff stuff as well, yeah, but they're mainly a support class. Like their whole point is healing people, buffing them, etc. And it does not work well in a PvE solo scenario. But I do think it's higher than Assassin just because that AoE attack is much better. Next we have Impaler. Yeah, that's probably it depends, because if we're including Impaler with the Vampire Ring, then we probably could put it in S tier. But since we're not, I'm gonna put it in A tier, because the damage is really nuts with Impaler. But at the same time, actually no, we're gonna put it in S tier. I forgot it could heal off of one of its attacks if you stack bleed onto it. Impaler was already pretty good by itself, but when it just got buffed and now it's ridiculous. I'm pretty sure one of their level 3 attack could do like 60 damage, and without any of the special modifiers you get. So any modifiers on top of that would be overkill. And I bet he basically can one tap almost any single base mob in the game besides like golems, cursed hollows, and cess horrors, I believe. Even then, it can probably one shot them if you make the correct build for it. But again, it can also heal HP with one of its attacks if they have bleed on them. Oh yeah, it also stacks a lot of bleed on enemies, like 10 to 15 stacks with one skill, which is really nuts. So I'm gonna put that in a solid S tier. Rogue now, I'm gonna be honest, I think Rogue is worse than Assassin, so I'm gonna put that in D tier. There's a reason you don't see any rogues running around by themselves. They literally are basically useless in my opinion. Probably the worst class in the game. Now, Monk is interesting. I don't really know exactly how strong a Monk is, but I'm gonna say they're roughly, because I haven't really seen anyone go Monk, I'll be honest, but I'm gonna say that they're probably gonna be mid C tier for PvE, just because if they're any better than Assassin, yeah, this is exactly where they'd go, because I don't see Monk as a tanky class. They might be like the most busted thing in the world. I haven't seen anything yet, but from what I've heard about it, this is probably where it would go. Berserker is also an interesting case. I'm gonna put that in B tier because the damage is really actually, I'm gonna put that above Paladin. The damage is really good for Berserker, like stupidly good. Its AoE attack is really good in my opinion. However, the only problem with Berserker is that two of its 3 moves damage itself, which wouldn't be bad because Impaler damages itself too, right? But it doesn't have a way to heal by itself. Like Impaler actually has like healing skills, But Berserker doesn't. The only thing that I think the only thing that makes Berserker probably better than Paladin, in my opinion, is because it can start with two energy at the beginning of a fight. But it's a 10% chance, so it's not that good. But its heavy slam move is unblockable, and it can do, if you buff itself up, it can do like upwards of like 60 to 80 damage, which is and it leaves them vulnerable too, which is really good. But there's also a lot of things resistant to physical attacks in this game, so it kind of gets outshined by most of the mages. Elementalist will be our first A class, just because of the fact that it's AoE. It has 2 AoE moves. And 2 of these moves are very, like, Blaze is very good against most of the mobs in, I believe, the Deep Forest and the regular forest, just because a lot of things are weak to fire there. And when it comes to the desert, it's not that good. But then you got Lightning Strike, which helps with that, and it's a really, really good attack. Like, it's no joke, probably one of the best attacks in the game. An AoE move that does like 50 to 60 damage if you were buffed high enough in Arcana, and hits everything on the field. But it is hard to cast, but other than that, you should be fine. It probably can, and it also has Gale Shield too. I almost forgot about that. Basically, if anything attacks you, it just gets reflected back instantly, and I think it lasts for like 3 to 4 turns. So yeah, it's really good for solo progressing. Now we got Necromancer here. Necromancer's easily S tier, probably above Impaler. I mean, there's a reason you see almost a Necromancer fighting bosses every time. Its self-heal is so good, it's not even funny. The Skeleton is also really good. It's the best summon in the game at the moment. Has an AoE attack, physical attack, and it scales off the Arcana of the Necromancer, which if you're a Necromancer, you should have high Arcana. It doesn't have any AoE, but the Skeleton provides the AoE, which is not that serious. And it has a move that is unblockable, and it has a move that's unblockable, undodgeable, and it does like 30 damage, I think, which is not, again, necessarily good. But the summons being able, and since it also has Coward, and you summon something, if the summon dies or anything on the field dies, it gains HP back for that. So it just like, it basically, if you kill one thing on the field, you're basically set for the entire encounter. Now, Wraith Knight is situational in my opinion, because if you don't get but I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably gonna put that above Necromancer. It can heal like Necromancer. It has a summon like Necromancer, not as good as a summon, but a summon nonetheless. And its abilities are probably better, like, because we're talking about solo here. Because if this was like based on team PVE, then Necromancer would go higher just because of the Raise the Dead spell. But since we're not, I'm gonna put Wraith Knight above it, or whatever the class is called. I don't remember at the moment, sorry. But yeah, no, it's being able to stack crits on it does not sound too good until he then gets max crit stacks and then just nukes the entire field for 100+ damage. It's honestly ridiculous. Like, there's a reason why I heard about someone soloing the dragon boss with this thing alone. Like, it's actually ridiculous. Anyways, that's my tier list. I don't think I missed any classes. Yeah, no, I didn't. I don't think I missed any classes. Now, this tier list will probably change in the future when they buff or nerf stuff, or when they add new stuff to the game. And I'm probably going to make a PvP tier list as well, so stay on the lookout for that. So anyways...